Hey athletes, if you're skipping your post-training meal, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to rebuild your muscles and recover optimally. Today, we're going to dive deep into why your post-training nutrition matters so much and how a simple meal or snack can really kickstart your recovery. Welcome back to this channel where I drop heaps of videos on sports nutrition tips. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on my future videos. Okay, let's talk about the key problem here, which is prolonged muscle soreness and slow recovery. If you've ever noticed that your legs still feel like jelly 2 days after a leg session, or your arms ache so much that you can't pick up your coffee mug at ease, you might be dealing with a lack of post-training nutrition. So who suffers with this? Honestly, it can be anyone who is pushing their limits in training, a competitive athlete, a weekend warrior, or someone who is starting their fitness journey. So if you're experiencing extended periods of muscle soreness after training, it can be a red flag that your muscles are not getting the nutrients it needs to recover properly. What happens is when you're doing intense training, you tear down your muscle fibers. This is actually not a bad thing. This is what helps you get stronger. However, the only way to get stronger from these muscle tears is to repair them with the right nutrients after training. The nutrients is what builds the fibers back up, and without them, you're stuck in a constant cycle of muscle breakdown. Think of it this way. During training, you're constantly digging a hole. If you don't fill it with the right fuel afterwards, you're basically leaving a half-dug hole in your recovery. Every time you wrap up a hard training session and you neglect having a post-training meal or snack, maybe it's because you've rushed off to work and you haven't planned your nutrition out properly, or you're trying to save your calories. You're missing out on the recovery period where your muscles are most primed to soak up nutrients. This prolonged soreness isn't just inconvenient. Over time, it can lead to plateaus, nagging injuries, and never truly reaching your training potential. All right, so let's talk about how we can fix this issue. After training, your muscle cells are sensitive to insulin and nutrients. Glycogen stores, which are the carbohydrates that are stored within your muscle tissue, are partially depleted, and your muscles require amino acids to rebuild and repair. This biological window is sometimes referred to as the anabolic window because it's your body's ability to repair and rebuild at its peak. This was once thought of as only a 30-minute window. It was pretty much a do or die situation. Get your fuel in ASAP or your muscles will fade away. However, recently we've actually found that this window can peak from 1 up to 5 hours post-training and can then continue occurring at this rate up to 24 hours post-training. So although you don't need to rush off and refuel like your life depends on it, it is still important to consume a balanced meal with carbs and protein about 30 minutes to 1 hour after your training session. By doing this, you achieve 3 critical things. One is jump-starting your recovery process. The combination of protein and carbs helps to start your recovery process efficiently and helps to reduce the risk of muscle protein breakdown. Number 2, replenishing your fuel stores. After training, your glycogen stores are partially depleted, especially if you've been doing high-intensity training or endurance sessions. When carbohydrates are available in your post-training meal, it helps to replenish these stores as well as shuttle the amino acids into your muscle cells efficiently. Replenishing the glycogen stores also helps to ensure that you're refueled for your next training session so that you don't feel flat or exhausted. And lastly, it also supports muscle repair. Of course, we know that protein is essential for the building blocks of muscle. If you make it a habit to feed your muscles with protein after training, you're setting the stage for better muscle protein synthesis. This is fancy terminology for building muscle and repairing. Let's be a little bit more specific here. The average person might aim for about 20 to 30 grams of protein after training. Whey protein shakes are usually a popular option because they're easy to digest. You want to combine this with easily digestible carbohydrates like banana, fruit juice, or even some oats and some fruit. If you want a more substantial meal, choosing chicken breast, fish, or a source of meat and pairing that with rice, potatoes, or another source of carbohydrates will just do the trick. Your insulin sensitivity is also higher after training. This means that your body is better able to pull nutrients from your bloodstream and shuttle them into your muscle cells for recovery and repair. In the long run, Building the habit of fueling correctly after your sessions can help to reduce the amount of time that you're hobbling around in pain after tough sessions, as well as speeding up your progress towards your endurance or strength goals. So now let's talk about some of the common errors that are made when it comes to post-training nutrition. Number one is skipping out on protein and carbs and just focusing on one and not the combination of both. Some athletes will just prioritize having a protein shake and skip out on carbs because they're worried about the extra calories or spiking insulin. But remember, carbohydrates are vital to replenish your glycogen stores, as well as supporting your muscle growth through shuttling your amino acids effectively into your cells. Conversely, only consuming carbohydrates and not prioritizing your protein means that you're missing out on the amino acids that your muscles need to repair. So aim for a combination of the two. The second mistake is waiting too long to eat. Now, we spoke before about debunking the idea that you need to rush off after training and refuel like your life depends on it. You've got time, so don't stress. But it is still important to prioritize having a meal or a snack after your training sessions to speed up your recovery, but also to refuel you for your next training sessions. Because if you train every day, your recovery nutrition is not only supporting your recovery, but also helping your energy and performance for your following training sessions. The longer you hold off eating, the more at risk you are at underfueling and being in a vicious cycle of poor recovery. Another mistake that is eating a meal that is too heavy and difficult to digest. So before you think of rushing off and grabbing a cheeseburger and fries, consider that it might not only be lacking high quality protein or the right types of carbohydrates, but the fact that it might also be difficult to digest. You might find that high-fat meals can leave you feeling sluggish, bloated, or even nauseous. So after training, try and keep it as clean as possible with easily digestible carbohydrates and high-quality protein sources. The last mistake I want to highlight is neglecting hydration and electrolytes. A lot of the talk around post-training nutrition revolves around protein and carbohydrate. However, fluids and electrolytes are just as important because if your body is dehydrated after training, you cannot transport your nutrients effectively to your cells. Sweat loss also depletes essential minerals, which is your main electrolytes like sodium and potassium. So having some fluids and electrolytes alongside your post-training snack or meal will help to rehydrate you as well as restore any lost essential minerals. If you're dealing with prolonged muscle soreness after training, then I challenge you to try this. Make it a habit to have a post-training meal or snack 30 minutes after every one of your training sessions. Prioritize high protein and carbohydrates and track how you feel after your training sessions. You might be pleasantly surprised on how fast you can bounce back. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up as well as drop a comment below with your favorite post-training meal or snack. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next video on more sports nutrition tips.